Hello, my friends, and welcome to MSP Unplugged. I'm your host, Rick Smith. This is the place to learn tips, tricks, and strategies to help you run and grow your IT service business. Whether you're a one-person shop or leading a team for the journey, this, my friends, is the place for you. Now, this episode of MSP Unplugged is sponsored by MoveBot. MoveBot is the simplest, fastest data migration and moving tool there is, supporting over 30 storage and email platforms today. We'll learn a little bit more about MoveBot later in the show. I want to introduce my co-host, someone who really needs no introduction. He is Chicago's finest, Chicago's own, Mr. Paco LeBron of Prodigy Techs. How are you today, sir?
Oh, Mr. Smith, better than good, better than most. How about the heck are you?
Hey, I'm actually doing great. Was a little under the weather. Went to the doctor today. Feeling good now. Got my shots, so I'm feeling strong, but and ready to rock this episode.
We'll check in on you in 3 hours and see how those shots have been doing to
you. Yeah, I'll be asleep then, but I'm good for this episode right now. Hey, Paco, before we get started, we got to give everybody an update on what's coming up and our favorite thing. You know what I'm talking about, sir?
Oh, I gotta say, it's around January 23rd. We got quite some time away. I think you're talking about one of my favorite things, and that is TechCon Unplugged.
Yes, sir. TechCon Unplugged 2024, our fifth annual TechCon Unplugged. So big things are coming. If I had the right thing, I'd give it a little clap there on the machine, but I'll just do it by hand here. But anyway, Paco's talking about is a little ways away, but the way this goes, you'll hear us. It'll feel like just a week ago we had this conversation, and we'll be in August on our countdown to TechCon. But TechCon Unplugged will be in the greater Washington, D.C. area this year, September 12th to the 14th at the hotel at Arundel Preserve. And we wanted you to join us for this amazing event as we bring the IT community together across 2.5 days of content to help better your business, save money, save time, and improve your services. This event is for emerging MSPs as well as more established houses. Now, right now, early bird tickets are on sale at techconunplugged.com. We do urge you to take advantage of that, and we look forward to seeing you there. Paco, I don't know about you, but I'm really looking forward to this coming TechCon. What about you, my friend?
I sure am, because we are doing things right this time, because me and Rick Smith hired an official event planner because we are tired of this trying to do this DIY stuff. So we are working with her hand and foot, and she has a lot of great things that she's been pitching to us. I am stoked about what we're going to be doing Saturday night. So that'll be coming here up short. But as we mentioned, early bird tickets will go or on sale, and you have until February 15th to get the early bird pricing. That will be your best pricing that you can get. If you happen to be in the MSP Unplugged community group, you may have a little bit off on that as well. So might want to join Patreon, get somebody that can get you into the group, might be able to get you an even better early bird pricing ticket. But that's until February 15th, and then our discount pricing will go into effect. So February 15th, and we got a great announcement that's going to be coming on February 16th as well. So stay tuned. TechConUnplugged.com.
Be prepared. Today's topic, Paco, we're going to talk about client acquisition strategies. How do we get them? How we go about, getting new clients? And depending on what size of MSP you are, where you are in your MSP stage, what's the best strategy for that? So to kick it off, I'll let you get started on that, sir.
Oh, no, Mr. Smith, I think this is going to be a great topic for you to go ahead and kick this off. No, I kid. I'm the one that kind of came up with the topic because, I've been catching up on a lot of podcasts. Shout out to Tahir Hamid and Steve. I don't know Steve's last name, but his co-host over at the No Fluff MSP Marketing Podcast, MSP Camp, was catching up a lot of his episodes. And, he was talking about all kinds of things of like local SEO, how to delegate to a marketing coordinator, website practices, all these type of things. And we're going to get into all that later on in the year. We got a lot of great stuff. We actually have a podcast calendar this year. But the thing that drew to me was, all right, what is the strategy behind getting that clientele, right? And really planning on how do you attract new clients? How do you leverage networking events and building partnerships, and how do you go about doing a lot of these things? And so I thought it was a great topic to kind of bring up, and really just talking about client acquisition. Now, for those that don't know what that term means, client acquisition is simply just put what is your plan to get new clients? That's really all it is. So, you as the MSP, as the value added reseller, as the IT consultant, whatever you may be calling yourself, what is your strategy to move forward on how you're going to sell to not only your current clients, but also to prospecting clients? And the biggest piece is you got to understand, who is it that you're trying to sell to? Attracting new clients and exploring how effective the approaches are is you have to identify who you want to go against, or go after, I should say, not go against. Who is that target market? What are you trying to sell? Things of that nature. So, for example, for me, I went into this new year thinking that really I just need to go ahead and update how we are going about offering our services, because usually for every 3 to 5 years I will try to reimagine where I'll be in those 3 to 5 years. I've talked about this last year on the podcast as well. So what are we leaning more into? So VoIP is one of those that we have not really focused on a lot, just because I don't know about you, Rick, but anytime something with VoIP comes around, I just hate dealing with it. But really, the biggest point of it all is that if you're managing it, you can be in front of it, and you got to find a good vendor that has a great support system that will help you with those VoIP systems. Because I know I am tired of dealing with other VoIP systems that my clients have put in place, and those support desks suck to the point where they're trying to go ahead and send my client routers to replace our router because to improve their service. And the client, not knowing anything, is calling us or is trying to do it on their own and brings down their network, right? So, this is just an idea, one of the things that we are focusing, and I can mention a couple more of what we're doing, but we're mentioning VoIP, and that's one of the segments that we're going to be leveraging more in this year. Go ahead.
I just want to make a quick point on that, which going into what you just said is a perfect reason why we should be doing VoIP. Because if another customer is doing VoIP, if your client's doing VoIP with another customer, with another vendor, excuse me, it end up becoming your problem anyway, right? Because when something goes wrong, the first person they're going to call is you. So why is it that you shouldn't be benefiting from that, from offering the product, and then you can be, as Paco just said, be ahead of the curve, as opposed to now you got to play catch up, you got to talk to someone else's help desk, and the first thing that happens is, in my experience with this, first thing happens when the VoIP company calls, they say, oh, it's something wrong with your IT. It's something wrong with your router, or something wrong with your switch, or you got to tell your IT guy to do this or do that. When 9 times out of 10, they're just passing the buck. So as you said, why not be ahead of it? Why not the problem be really your problem or your issue to deal with? Because then you're 90% of the way of having it solved, or not even having that problem occur.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that really the biggest piece of that is that's in any niche, right? So whether it's VoIP, whether it's cameras, whether it's printers, and I'll get into the points of, like, let's say you don't want to get into those segments. There is a solution for this. But if you find yourself like, I haven't got into it because I don't understand it, there are plenty of great partners in the channel and in the industry that I implore you to go to an event and, talk to them, research them. Again, this has been years. And my whole big point is, we used to do referrals of VoIP companies because we didn't want to get involved in the business, but we knew how to work with them. So like 8x8 for a while, we were doing referrals to Vonage at one point. But now we've decided to really take a grasp and understanding, because again, like you said, Rick, they're going to come to us anyway. So we have partnered with BVoIP. So that's our VoIP provider of choice. So that's how we are doing that, but we're doing it with a little bit of a spin where we're really diving in. And I think I've talked about this as well, and leaning into the Microsoft environment. So what we're doing is, instead of using Microsoft's Teams plans, because in my opinion, it's still not prime time for like the little nuances of things, like trying to find a voicemail, trying to do a call group and have it delivered. It's getting a little weird and trying to do a lot of that stuff with the Teams call planning. So what I've chosen to do is, we're now putting BVoIP, which has their own systems, their own phones, but we're actually plugging that into the background of Teams, and we're utilizing Teams as the dialer. So that's what I have set up completely with us internally. That's what we're doing for a lot of our other teams, phone clients. We're putting BVoIP in the background, and then just establishing that partnership. And then for those that don't know, not only can you reach out to them directly, but maybe you don't feel like you want to deal with a vendor directly. BVoIP is in PAX8, so you can always go through PAX8 if you are a PAX8 partner as well. Now, I did mention, like, cameras, printers, there are solutions, there are people that advertise in the booths. Maybe you just don't want to deal with that. Maybe you just don't want to take that responsibility, that liability, things of that nature. What you can always do is just partner with another company that does that stuff. So for example, I don't do cabling. Not going to do it ever since 2019. Never going to happen. I'm good. I mean, you could see the gravity of like what my cabling can do. Like that's the gist of what I can do from there. But just because of the nuances, I don't need to be on a ladder. I don't need to be doing all that. I don't need to get injured myself again. So I've partnered with a company that does my low voltage cabling. I'm okay with that because I can get the margin off a little bit from what I would pay them, plus on the hardware as well. So there are strategies that you can do to kind of do this. But I'm harping on too much of the services of what to offer. But going back to really the theme of the episode is, identifying what the niche or your target market you're trying to attack. And that's really where you're going to develop how you want to handle this. And it's not just so much the services, but also the verticals that you're going through to try and find as well.
Makes sense. Now, yeah, it's figuring out where you want to be, I guess, is or as you say, what niches or what additional products you're going to sell, and that really is going to depend on what you call yourself, right, or how you define your business, right? There are plenty of, I guess, there's, as my mom used to say when I was a kid, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? So we don't all have to come at it the same way, and we can look at it. Basically you do it from your point of view. Now, if you're a smaller MSP, and we've talked about this before, your strategy may be different than will be different than a larger, more established house or a place that has, more techs, more resources maybe at their disposal than you do. So the approach is going to be different. And here's a classic example. Paco and I are friends. We talk just about every day, several times a day, about business, right? His business is larger than mine, right? So some of the things he does is different than the way I approach it, just because we're on a different scale. And also
demographics too, right?
Like demographics as well. That makes a big difference too. And that's a good point. But our goal is the same, and that goal is to grow our business and take advantage of the opportunities that are there. Trying to meet, basically, I say my mentor tells me, meet customers where they are, right? So understand what they need, and then you go meet them where they are, if that fits where you want to go. Now, I think I mentioned this earlier in the year. One of the things at Renactus that I decided to do in order to make us more efficient is we're changing our customer avatar. So we essentially raise the minimum number of seats that we're going to service going out. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What's an avatar?
Well, okay. The customer avatar, as I define it, you're going to get probably some different, more elegant wording on it. But the customer avatar, as I define it, is your ideal customer. Who do you want to deal with? And you have to build that, whether that be niche, whether that be size, industry, location, whatever that may be. You need to have that idea of, this is who we deal with. I just noticed your things at Pet Detective, but anyway,
keep it together, man. Keep it together. This is a serious show.
Throw me off there. I think you did that on purpose to me, y'all. But so your avatar is going to be how you define your ideal customer, right? So then when you're building your marketing, when you're building your strategies, this is who This is that meeting customers where they are. So now you want to meet your avatar or your ideal customer where they are, what industry, what stage, whatever it is, what size. And that is how you would direct your marketing, direct your sales, and you grow your business that way. So I think that's important for everyone, because I can tell you from firsthand experience, just willing to deal with anyone and everyone who comes through the door, and then later on learning this is not for me, is not a good strategy. So I would say this: if you're starting out, and even there are some more established businesses who still do this and end up saying 5 months later, I got to get rid of this customer. And if you find yourself saying that, on more than one occasion during the year, then you really have not really defined your customer avatar, or you've made too many exceptions to your customer avatar. And again, not all relationship is going to be perfect, even if they fit right into everything you want, but you shouldn't be having that issue, on too many occasions. So, the goal with that is really knowing who you want to work with, who you are, who you're willing to work with. And, we talk about this several times, right? And it's hard, particularly when you're in that really, um, that growth stage of your business. It gets hard sometimes to just say no to certain people, but it actually, I just say, take it from me, it actually is satisfying to be able to do that, because the other side of that is the headaches that it causes, and you knew that it wasn't right for you, right? So you knew that this customer did not fit what you wanted, or was asking for things you didn't think they needed delivered, or didn't want to deliver, or actually couldn't deliver. And that goes for larger clients too. It works both ways, and I'll leave it at that. But just be careful. Just as we are defining our minimum standard of client, we also have a maximum, because we know we don't have the capacity at Renactus to work with extremely large and large environments, particularly if it's just us. Now, a co-managed situation
Say
may be a little
what?
different. But you have to know your minimums, but you also have to know your maximums, because you can blow a relationship just as fast by taking on something that you can handle, as the same as taking on something that you shouldn't handle.
So while you were kind of going through that as well, I think the biggest it reminded me, and I wanted to pull it up so I wouldn't miss talk about it. So Amy Luby from MSP Revolution did a session at TechCon, but also did a more enhanced version of that talk at the Super Ops Super Summit in Dallas that me and Rick had attended. And what she calls the avatar is the ideal client profile, ICP. But what she really was highlighted that really grabbed my attention was, as you're trying to figure out and identify your target market and really figuring out what makes sense, that market actually has three components to it. And she calls it TAM, SAM, and SOM. So TAM is your total addressable market. So how many are there in your defined geography, or the town or the area that you're looking at? And she says, you can always take a look at what the chamber said, what the local chamber has, or what the SBA says. So when she used the example of Omaha, Nebraska, she said that the chamber had over 3,000 plus business members, and the SBA says 49% of the 179,000 businesses in Nebraska are 20 to 99 employees. So now you already understand your total addressable market by going to those two sources. The next one is the SAM, your serviceable available market. What portion of the market fits you? Now, there's a chance that of that 179,000 businesses, the 49%, I believe this is the number, so I haven't done it in my head too fast, but it's about 89,500 businesses with the addressable market you're looking for, between the 20 to 99 employees that you're looking to service. And then she also puts in SOM, which is the serviceable obtainable market. What portion of that market can you realistically acquire, which is what you just mentioned right now? Is it 50? Is it 150? Is it 300? Like, how much of the clients of there can you take on with the resources that you have? And then that's where you determine what you're going to look at in your market. That's how you drive your niche, and then you develop your compelling value proposition to go from there. So I implore you, You know what? I'll invite Amy to come back to really have this talk because I think it's a great talk to have. So we'll put this as a check mark of client acquisition strategies part 2 from her. And I think that would be a great explanation of how to really put that tangible side. And I'll make sure that all this, what I just talked about, is in the show notes as well of Tam, Sam, and Sam. So go back to you on attracting new clients. Going from there.
You know, and I just think using that approach that you just gave, right? Using what Amy gave us. Now you're not necessarily shooting in the dark with your marketing, right? You're not sending postcards to everybody, to 179,000 businesses in your area, right? Now you've worked that down to, I don't know, the 89 or 30 or 100 or 500, whatever that number may be. Now you can directly target at that, right? And that makes so much more sense, because when you think about it, why, it costs money to market and it costs time and energy, right? So why just take a shot in the dark and send it to everybody when you have opportunities and ways that you can narrow that market down to what you realistically want, what fits your client avatar, and gives you the opportunity then to best grow your business. So that is all, that's just something to keep in mind. I am by no means a marketing expert, but I can count. And if you tell, I'd rather send it to 300 people that I have a better opportunity of serving than 149,000, and just hope that somebody calls me back, right? And also, depending on how you do your marketing, if you have someone who cold calls or follows up, if you send any marketing or if you direct any marketing, it's easier for them to target who you're sending it to, rather than just say, hey, call this list of 169,000 businesses and ask that they get our postcard, or ask if they got our mailing or whatever. So definitely a way, a strategy to look at this.
And and exactly like you said, I mean, being able to build that, and now you have talk tracks, what you can talk about. You don't have to just do the word vomit of I do all of this to whoever you're talking to. You can now have educated conversations and understand what you're doing for when you're going to leveraging things like networking events. And so, for those that, are not prone to networking events, you can find them on, I think it's you can go on Eventbrite. I forgot the one that WeWork bought. Is it meetup.com? Hopefully that's not the dating site. But it's one of those where you can go and there's different networking events that are available. You can obviously look through social media as well. I think Facebook has an events thing as well. Even not sure if LinkedIn has it dedicated, but being able to leverage networking events, because now you can actually speak to what you're doing on those type of your niche and what you have the talking tracks to. But also, I think a missing piece for all of us, and I'll go into this in a second, I'll talk about building partnerships, but then I'll come back to how leveraging the network events as well. Building relationships with peers and potential clients, right? And that's the whole point of the networking events. The gentleman, I think it's Ronell Richards, I got to double check if that's it. He wrote the book, Shut the Hell Up and Sell. And one of the things in his chapter that he says is that, everyone pulls the scrape data from like a data axle, I forgot what a network solution, or I forgot what the other data scraping site is, but Zoom Info, things of that nature. And then they just start building their campaigns from there. And for him, he says, well, why would you start off with that such a big size and attack that big size? Why aren't you still, when you do your cleanup process, really ensuring that you take it down to the point where you can have the ability to have a small subset and start those conversations organically, versus you just templating it and just hoping that one of them are going to come and reply back to you. Same premise is here. When you're going to network events such as your Chamber of Commerce, associations are another great opportunity of, they may have networking nights in the areas that you are in. I know for us in the Loop, in the West Loop, there was a lot of associations that would have their member meetups or potential member meetups that you don't even have to put money in to be a member, to join the breakfast and just to see what's going on. It's their introductory of their programs and such. So allows you to, again, not sell, but also to build a relationship and with those peers that may be other like yourself or potential clients. Now, looping back to attending industry conferences and events, I think what a lot of us try to think of is when we say industry events and conferences, we think of our own events. We're thinking about the channel pros, the ASCIIs, the exchanges, the channel futures, the
TechCons.
CompTIA's channel con, TechCon, so that's what comes into our brain and building relationships and peers. But I think we're not looking at the full spectrum. What are technology wise our clients using? So for example, I tend to focus on a lot in legal, and they have a tech show called the ABA Tech Show. It's one of the biggest software and technology shows for lawyers specifically. So why am I not attending that show to just build relationships and peers and potential clients while I'm there? Plus understanding their problems and trying to, rub elbows with some of the vendors that my clients are using. I developed this strategy with Clio, and we're working on something together on being able to do a referral partnership where someone doesn't know how to implement their system. We can help figure that out, plus provide them the managed services. Same thing goes with manufacturing. There's here in Illinois, there's the Technology Manufacturing Association. Being able to join that effort, see what they're all about, brush elbows with other like-minded individuals like ourselves, plus build relationships as well. So these are all great things to check out in your local area. But specifically, and I'll put the links for the ABA Tech Show because I think it's a whole thing or whatever. Like Marvin B from MB Systems and IT Business Podcast will come from Florida to attend this show because I believe it's here in Chicago every year. But there are some virtual events and things of that nature. But the point of that is to really help build those relationships and peers of potential clients and rubbing the shoulders on that. Now, looping back again to building partnerships, I think this is what allowed us to grow in an early stage, is partnering with a bigger MSP. And I think that a lot of people are intimidated by doing that because I'm surprised that a lot more MSPs are not doing this, meaning going, checking your information, seeing what this MSP is about. And again, you can meet them through other relationships. Or if you happen to be at an event with me and Rick, and we happen to know of another MSP in your area that may be a little bit bigger than you, we can help bridge some of those gaps and connections. Because for us, I had a partnership with MXO Tech. They have since been acquired here in Chicago, so I can mention who they are now because the NDA is no longer valid. But essentially what we did was we had the ability of talking with them. They were much bigger than us. Our qualifications were a lot smaller than theirs. And what allowed us to really help us was anytime they had a referral, it was a warm lead because they already went through the process of explaining to them what managed services was. We had the ability of understanding their questions. And again, I learned a lot from Joanne's Meroff over there and helped fine tune our processes on this end as well. So I give her a lot of credit for our early stages on how we were able to build out our clientele through this partnership. And we just basically built out a referral agreement. Hey, for every lead that you have, there'll be an agreement that we make sure we compensate you for the marketing that you did for your Google ads or for whatever their advertising efforts have been, so that they look like the hero because they didn't tell the prospect no. And we win because we gain a client, and now we're helping build our structure and our culture and basically our livelihood here because of that help. So I implore those that are a little nervous about it, if you know somebody, or if you just run into me and Rick and there's like, hey, look, there's this MSP that I've been trying to get a hold of, would love to see if I can build some type of partnership. I am not the shyest. I will make sure to help you with that connection if that's what you're looking for, because I have been around the block a couple of times at these shows. I'm more than happy to bridge that gap if you're not really comfortable in doing so. And I also think there is a vendor in the space. I haven't done too much research on it, but apparently they post like MSP contracts for sale. Like if it didn't meet their qualifications, they have like this database that you can acquire them or not. So I'll do more research on them. If they're legit, I'll put it up there. But that's my rambling for the last probably 10, 15 minutes. Rick, what do you got to say to all of that?
I was just going to piggyback on that and just say too, that works both ways, right? Now, again, this goes back to me saying, I know what size of customer we can handle and what size customer we can't handle, right? So that can work both ways. If you have an MSP that's larger than you, that he can send you leads for, or hot leads, as Paco's saying, for customers that fit inside your group, it works the same way. Now, if you come across a lead and you're honest with yourself that, hey, this is not going to be a good fit for us, we can't support a customer, company this size, or we just don't do what they're asking, you can pass that up as well, right? That works the exact same way. And it might not be as frequent, but I can't think of a larger MSP who wouldn't want a customer of that size that fits into their wheelhouse. So, again, that just worked both ways. So just you can build that relationship that way too, because we have run into a couple of times, customers that we know what they're asking for doesn't fall under at this point what Renactus can deliver. So we have referred them to a larger house. And that is just, again, just another way to keep the community strong, to keep the process both ways. So it's not just receiving, it's also giving.
Sure. No, and before we kind of keep going on, we're talking about partnerships. Let's go ahead and dive into the partnership we have over with MoveBot. Data migrations are complex and irritating, creating days of frustrations from setup to cutover. MoveBot was built from the ground up to fix that. MoveBot is the simplest and fastest data moving tool there is, fully hosted with no infrastructure, no virtual machines, none of that. Sign up, connect, scan, and you'll be moving data in minutes. Techs of all levels can now move terabytes per day with MoveBot. The magic lies in how MoveBot simplifies and auto-scales your migration with modern cloud technology, handling proprietary doc types, file name sanitation, permissions, and cutover, with detailed reporting and alerting at every step. Start moving data like a pro at movebot.io, and definitely check out the link in our show notes as well. All right. Now,
Thank you, MoveBot.
Yes, thank you, MoveBot. Have you checked them out yet?
I started, and I'm a little slow, so I'm it's on the list.
Yeah. So I actually was taking a look at some of their stuff, and we did just like a quick thing from Box to SharePoint,
Mm-hmm.
and it really well. So I think it's definitely something for those to take up. And then, and again, when we highlight these vendors in our show, we try to make sure that it's something that's going to be appeasable to our audience and it's going to be useful. We don't just take anyone's money, because we've been offered quite a bit of money from other people.
Mm-hmm.
When we take on a sponsor, one, it helps us obviously here to handle some of the costs on this side, but two, we want to make sure that, and we've been with this with like TechCon and things like that. We want vendors that are true partners. And MoveBot just seems to have a product that works, and solid people when I've talked to them on our side. So can't say not much about them. So definitely check them out if you get the chance. You do have that trial for, I believe it's up to 250 gigs for free. But we'll have that information in the show notes here shortly. But going on to vendor partnerships, that is another avenue that I don't think a lot of people tend to take advantage of. Now, when people think of client acquisitions with vendor partners, I think they start to think like, oh, great. They're going to tell me like, why do I need to sell this more to, include in my stack? Or, how can I, we could make you 5 times more money if you offered our solution. I'm not talking about all those. What I'm talking about is the vendor partners and I'm not even talking about like the partner enablement materials, although those are helpful. What I'm talking about is the partners that are really trying to understand your business and really trying to figure out what your plan is. Again, we talked about what you're trying to do and what you're targeting for your ideal client and what you're going to try and do leaning forward. So I'm going to give you an example. And I've already mentioned this to my rep. So I need to text Rob Ray about this because we've had a really great experience so far. So Pax8, over the last several years, I have received what I like to call subpar results. And I'm not ashamed to say it. We just, over the years, our reps just either kept getting promoted, we kept getting floundered around. We just didn't really get a lot of attention. And I thought at the time it was our size. Had a really good rep in the beginning and then at the end. However, at the end of this year, I got introduced to my new rep, Connor Riley, And, he genuinely was like, hey, would love to reach out to you, know more about your business and see how we can help you out. And so I made a decision to myself and I preach this all the time, is that you should have the ability to make sure it's a reciprocal relationship. As much as you're taking from the vendor, you should be supporting them as well. Like, that's just their run a business. People get upset when they get acquired and things of that nature, because, as I've said before, MSPs are cheap. Be frugal, people, not cheap.
Frugal.
So no, there's two different things. They're cheap. But anyway, the point is that so I met with Connor, and I didn't really expect a lot out of it. And I will tell you that the experience from this past 2 weeks that I've been talking to PAX 8 have been nothing but remarkable. And when I tell you that, it's not so much a surprise, but a fresh breath, a breath of fresh air. Not only did he connect me to all my specialists actually give a damn. There's been an issue that I've been dealing with our partner center for 7 years. And I don't want to go into the whole thing of what happened with it. 7 years, we've been back and forth with PAX 8, with Microsoft, etc. My rep jumped in, got the productivity specialist, which is basically the Microsoft guy. We ran through a bunch of topics. There was a couple new things that Microsoft came out with that I wasn't aware of. And I literally got it all taken care of yesterday. And my partner center woes are completely done. So it basically was a child and parent thing. And I couldn't get my benefits from one because we've been operating out of the child for so many years. Again, complicated, but now that's all been resolved. You cannot understand the huge relief that I have by being able to merge those tenants, because it was really affecting a lot of the stuff we wanted to do. I couldn't do my GDAP stuff properly without having that done. I couldn't do my Augment integration with their CSP integration. I couldn't do a lot of that stuff because of this hindrance that I had. And I just felt like no one gave a damn. I will tell you, Connor Riley, Cole Calperes, sorry, Cole, I probably messed up your name. All stars at PAX 8. So I got to text Rob. I keep meaning to text him. I don't know who their boss is, but they actually give a damn. And there are people out there that do for vendors like that. I had a great conversation with their PAX 8 Academy guys, Mike Prentice, to help me get my guys upskilled and so forth, because it was a real need for me. And leaning into, hey, you want to make money with Microsoft? I think this is how we can do it. And it made sense. And I think I talked to you, Rick, about a little bit of what my strategies are from being able to do so. And for me, it felt good. This is the first time I've had a really great relationship outside of Super Ops that I'm proud of. And there are vendors like that. And they are willing to make and understand, and I keep hitting the mic. They're willing to figure out, how can they help you get clients? How can they help you get money? And there are those that genuinely give a damn about it, because for them, if they can help, they truly understand. If they help you, it's going to help them. So who are the vendors in your catalog right now that can help you find clients? Are you partnered with a password management company? Are you partnered with a security awareness training company? Can they be on a webinar with you? And it doesn't take much to do a webinar. You can do a webinar on Teams. You don't even have to pay extra to do a webinar. We have StreamYard and all the fancy, I was going to say a curse word, fancy stuff that are here. Yeah, like you can use Teams webinar for that. If you're a Microsoft 365 partner, you can use tools that you have to do some of this, and they're willing to help. I know that and it's on me, but like I use Keeper for my password management, and my rep has been always willing to do a lunch and learn. Being able to work with us to do a webinar to try and get acquisition, because they understand the investment in us is going to cause an investment to them. Right. And those are the ones that truly get it, not the slimy, sleazy sales stuff that they go ahead and say, hey, this is what, if you sell this, you're going to make money, and I'll show you how. It's none of that. Same thing with the guys over at Temis. Jared has been with me trying to figure out all these things, understanding our model, and help me get a sales plan of including some of these things into that part. These are things that, again, when we're in the day-to-day, we don't think about a lot of those stuff. And now that I've had the pleasure to be able to focus on sales stuff more this past year, it's been a true breath of air. So vendors, I implore you, and I know a lot of you are good about this, but if you don't have a true relationship and being able to provide that to the MSP, that's where you're going to falter. And then on the same thing as the MSP, reach out to your vendor partners, because I know a lot of you love the tools and the software, and there's a lot of great people behind it. I'm sure enough that they'll help you come up with some strategies. Again, you got to figure out your target, right? You got to figure out who you're trying to service. But once you get that piece down, it's going to be a lot better of a conversation for you as you move forward. Rick, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I you mentioned Jared, and it's funny. I talked to him yesterday, so shout out to you, Jared, because he, and I can echo what you just said about his approach to this and Timus's approach to, to helping me first and foremost, and then to help me, you know, expand my business, expand my reach. And I love the fact that I talked to him yesterday. He's like, hey, is there anything I can do to help you? It's like, is anything going on I can help you with to help you grow? And I appreciate that, rather than him saying to me, hey, okay, here's a new thing we're doing. You should be talking about this, or, you should be talking about, you can make more money this, or you could charge this. It's more about, and I really appreciate it. It's more about, hey, how can I help your business, or how can I help you to help your business? Because he knows the reciprocal of that is me taking what he gives me and applying it, which increases which increases my reach. More people I can offer to, the better it works out for him. So
Right.
there, and I just appreciate someone who comes to me and is talking about me rather than talking about them. It's the same thing we say about our customers. Your goal is to help your customer, right? It helps you in the long run, but your first and foremost thought has to be to help your customer, because that is how you first and foremost gain their trust and respect, but it's also how you keep them, right? You have to be
Right.
offering, you have to be giving them what they need, and or helping them see things that they may not necessarily see. And that's what's very important. So I just want to echo that. The same way we want to treat our customers is the same way we want our vendors to treat us. And I think one of the things we have to do, though, that Paco does, that I've learned from him to start doing more of, is actually utilizing the vendors. Because a lot of times you don't take your sales rep's call because you think he's trying to sell you something. Sometimes they're just checking in, right? Sometimes they just want to know, if the really good ones, they just truly know, hey, this is a customer of mine. We talked about XYZ the last time. I want to know how they're doing with it. And it may or may not be related to their product. So it's just one of those things where I say, hey, keep an open mind, use your partner vendors, and you'll quickly learn who's out for you and who's out for themselves.
So 2 examples of that, like you just said. So one, I'm gonna tell you how stand up Jared is. So Jared, and for those that don't know, Temis Networks is essentially a SASE solution, a secure SASE solution. So whether you want to, basically it's, the floating network, the cloud network, right? Being able to have the cloud static IP, securing it, DNS filtering, things of that nature inside of this endpoint that follows around. Great for remote work. You can install it locally as well. So we include that in our second tier of pricing, but we have a lot of clients that are moving about that are on our first tier that really want it. So I was trying to figure out how to come up with it on an a la carte basis. And so, I asked him a quick question. I said, hey man, I'm just curious, what are your partners selling this thing for? So he told me the pricing of, what their, what clients are trying to sell it for, as far as like what the industry standard should be. Not only did he do that, they already had partner enablement material, but he redid the partner enablement material for me. I don't know if for me specifically or if I spawned that to be done, but essentially he updated those partner enablement materials, sent it over to me. He says, hey man, I think this will answer the questions that you have for you trying to get it over. And all you got to do is basically tell them, here's how much it's going to be. And so I was trying to come up with a PDF to try and give it to my clients to provide it to them. And he went ahead and did that out of his way. That's what a true partner does, because he went out of his way. He did it. It benefited all the other partners, but now I didn't have to wait, dedicate my time to figure that out. Mm-hmm. To the next point that you said, and then we'll start rounding out the show, is specifically like you mentioned, is sometimes vendors check in with you and then they may even bring up other solutions as well. Okay. So I'll bring up, actually, there's 2 examples. One, I was at, it was either PAX 8 Beyond or it was Channel Futures. I can't remember. But when Juan was at his previous, when Juan was over at Hackware, he at the Hackware booth, Hackware built partnerships with other vendors. So I think it was like Trend Micro, Um, there were a couple other vendors, and there was this whole symposium, and at the booth as well, specifically focusing on CIS. And there was a vendor that checked every single box. And I think we've gotten to an age, and this really was Juan's brainchild, where he was like, we can all collaborate. We can all figure out how to check and help each other. One person doesn't have to sell everything. Like, you don't have to have, hey, we do this and buy this and this will check that. Like, hey, there is this other partner that we can partner with. Hey, this is the whatever. And it's a true collaboration of community that I love to see. And Juan is really engineering that. Now he's over at Super Ops and he's working on doing the same. But again, that was true, like, great to mention of other vendors that can help you as the MSP in the community. Another instance is when I was talking to my Pac State guys over the academy, and I was kind of telling them where my problems were and things of that nature. He's like, I don't think you're here yet, but have you heard about Roost? And I was like, well, yeah, actually I have. And he's like, okay. He goes, once you get all this stuff done, I think here is going to help you with all of this stuff here, because this is going to be able, and when he explained how in depth this thing does, you know, I didn't know. Now, granted, Pac State's a distributor, and yes, they have partnerships, but like, for him to listen to what I needed and to identify what it was and say, you don't need it right now, but I think this is what's going to help you. This is really what folks from there. So again, I implore you, talk to your reps, talk to your vendors, and especially for those that just don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, figure out what's the easiest way for you to go from. I will give you one tangible thing that helped me out when I started doing my webinars. And for those that need my slides and stuff, I think I've shared them before. They're in Patreon. If you need them, I can send them back to you as well. I've already sent them to a few of you guys and gals and everyone. So the biggest piece of here was, I learned this from Al Alper over at CyberGuard 360. He says, usually every cybersecurity training, awareness training company has a free module, whether it's like 2 courses or whatever. You can hold a cybersecurity webinar, and you basically tell them, hey, we're going to give you cybersecurity awareness training for free. It's going to include these 2 modules. This should help you start getting to where you guys got to go. You'll get a pulse of where your company is going to be at. You deploy it to all of them. You have them sign up, and then you follow up with the office manager. Hey, notice that they haven't taken these trainings. Is that important for you? Hey, we've gotten these pulses, and I just want to let you know this guy failed like 4 times. Like, I think there's some cyber hygiene that needs to be done. Hey, he didn't realize what a phishing attempt was. Now you're starting the conversations. You're not pitching, you're solving a problem that they currently have. So I thought that was one tip that was really great for me on a vendor providing client strategy that did not have anything to do technically with his own product, but for any product that could be used agnostically. So I'll give it back to you, Mr. Smith, as you unmute yourself.
Wow. 3 years of doing it, and I still drop it. And I missed the hint. I got you. But no, there are still there are some very good vendors out there, very good people. You know, again, every company is made up of people, and there are some very good people out there who really genuinely want to help, who really genuinely have, you know, your best interest at heart. So I just, you know, as Paco said, we implore you, take advantage of that, you know, and that, again, you know, rounding this out will help you with growing your business with customer acquisition, customer retention, which is very important as well, and customer satisfaction. So, you know, with that, I think we'll put this one to bed. What do you think, Mr. Paco?
I think it's time to say goodbye to our friends and foes here.
We invite you to tune in every Tuesday and Thursday. You can watch the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Do us a favor. This is important. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button to be notified whenever a new episode is available. Hey, as I say, if you think Paco don't have a face for radio, you can take us on the go. We're on your favorite podcatcher app. You can find us on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, to name a few. For Paco and I, we want to thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on MSP Unplugged.